I'm here to break down a pretty important topic that's unfolding in the UK right now, and yeah, it's all about the Labour Party conference. So, let's dive in, shall we? Alright, so it looks like no. 10, that's the Prime Minister's office for those who might not know, is gearing up for a possible defeat at the Labour conference. This is mainly regarding a vote that aims to condemn cuts to the winter fuel allowance. This has been a hot-button issue, and major trade unions are stepping up to back a motion that seeks to reverse the decision made by Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor. Yeah, it's definitely creating some waves. So here's the deal: unions like Unite and the Communication Workers Union CGU are pushing for a debate and a vote later this week. They want to really hammer home their opposition to the decision that limits the winter fuel allowance to only the poorest pensioners. It's a pretty significant issue since many people rely on that financial support during the colder months. There are other unions, like Unison and the GMB, that are also likely to jump on board with this motion, provided they can agree on the specific wording. Sounds like negotiations are in play. Now, the timing of this vote hasn't been pinned down just yet, but Starmer's allies are hoping to push it to the last day of the conference. That's an interesting strategy, right? Even though the vote itself will be non-binding, any dissent from unions and delegates could really cast a long shadow over Labour's first conference in government in 15 years. Yeah, that's a big deal. Keir Starmer, the party leader, is expected to address the discontent within Labour regarding this fuel allowance cut. He'll likely argue that the government didn't have much choice, given the tight fiscal situation they inherited. It's a tricky balancing act for sure. Unite has proposed a motion that calls on the government to reverse the cuts in the upcoming October budget. The original wording is pretty direct. It's asking for all cuts to the winter fuel allowance to be reversed. If this motion gains enough traction, it could pass on the conference floor, despite the fact that most Labour delegates support Starmer's leadership. Interesting dynamics, huh? Many within Unite and even some Labour MPs are really not happy with this decision to cut the fuel allowance. A significant portion of their membership includes retired folks who would feel the pinch from these cuts. So, it's not just a political issue, it's deeply personal for many people. In fact, Unite even launched billboards in Liverpool calling for ministers to reverse the cuts. You could feel the anger when it was voted on in Parliament, and many Labour MPs expressed their frustration. It's clear this issue is resonating strongly. On a recent episode of Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips on Sky News, Sharon Graham, the General Secretary of Unite, didn't hold back. She criticised what she called a cruel policy and urged the Prime Minister to acknowledge that this decision was a misstep. People voted for change, she emphasised, and they need to see that change reflected in policy. It's a pretty powerful sentiment, right? Graham pointed out that it seems a bit backward for Labour to start its tenure by taking away winter fuel allowance from the poorest in society, while wealthier individuals remain largely unaffected. That's a pretty sharp critique, and it really highlights the divide that can sometimes occur in policy decisions. In her Observer piece, Graham stressed the importance of first steps taken by the government. She argued that making about turns is absolutely necessary when policies are unpopular. It's not just about politics, it's about setting the mood and expectations among the public. Now, Matt Rack, the General Secretary of the Fire Brigades Union, also weighed in, calling the cut politically inept and out of touch. He expressed concerns that the government would bear the blame if people suffer during the winter months as a result of this decision. That's pretty serious, right? He mentioned that ordinary voters are confused by this decision, and it's not setting a good precedent for the new government. It seems that Starmer is trying to navigate this tricky terrain by meeting with union leaders in Liverpool. He's made it clear that cutting the winter fuel allowance is a necessary evil, primarily due to the PS2.2 billion deficit left by the previous Conservative government. That's a hefty figure. And it certainly complicates things. Graham also critiqued the Chancellor, suggesting that his focus on fiscal prudence might be stifling necessary economic reform and growth. She highlighted the need for Labour not just to manage better, but to be visionary. I mean, that's a tall order, right? As the conference kicked off, she reiterated her call for ministers to abandon strict fiscal rules so that they could borrow more for investment in infrastructure and public services. That's a bold stance, especially with Reeves's first budget looming in October. And then you've got Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, who chimed in, emphasising the need for the Treasury to rethink its approach to promote growth. He pointed out that there are several growth tests coming up, especially concerning rail infrastructure. This is a big deal for many regions. In his interview with the Financial Times, Burnham explained that growth isn't just about fiscal numbers, it's about instilling hope and making investments. Yeah, it's about planting those seeds for the future, not just saying no to everything that comes up. As for Rachel Reeves, she's committed to leading the UK's most pro-growth Treasury, but Downing Street has hinted that the upcoming budget will involve some tough decisions, including potential tax increases. That's definitely a mixed bag of messages going around. In summary, this whole situation surrounding the winter fuel allowance cuts is really stirring the pot at the Labour conference. The unions are rallying, and there's a palpable sense of urgency to reverse this decision. Starmer has a challenging road ahead as he tries to maintain party unity while addressing these critical issues. So yeah, this is definitely a developing story to keep an eye on. It's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds and what impact it will have on Labour's standing moving forward. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts.
Thanks for watching our video. Please hit the bell icon and subscribe the channel. Thank you.